Alright, hello everybody and welcome to ButteredGaming. I'm ButterToast III and today I'm going to be continuing my Java for Beginners tutorial thing. So, as you'll notice up on top, you'll see that this is episode 6 of Java for Beginners, and today we're going to be talking about if statements, which I have mentioned before, logical operators, and enums. So if you remember the last video, we had comparison operators. Today we'll be looking at some logical operators. About 3 of them. So anyway, let's begin by having our obligatory class initialization. So we can go public class, and I called this file if statements. There we go, and then we can have our little curly braces there. And then we need our also obligatory main statement, main statement. There we go. And this is public static void main open parenthesis capital string args square brackets close parentheses and curly brackets. So there we have it, and we can get into our if statements. Yay. Alrighty, so the basic format for our if statements is basically if, and then you'll have an open parenthesis, and you'll put in your conditions inside these parentheses, and then you'll have your curly braces, and then basically it's another block of code. And then there's something else you want to talk about. You have this else. Basically that's saying, and as you'll notice there's no parentheses for conditions, so basically what else is saying, if the condition for the if is not true, you can execute this code. If you didn't have the else and the condition was not true, it would just completely skip the if and not do anything with it, just so you know. Alright, so basically what we can do with our if statement, and as you'll notice, one thing I wanted to talk about was the indentation. I talked to you about indentation in an earlier video. So you'll notice that this if is indented to be within the public, the main statement here. And then within the if, you also have indentation, as you can kind of see there, I'm typing, to show that it is within the if block. And then also the same thing for the else block there. So basically what you can do is you have, this is basically where our logical operators come in. So we have our, actually let's talk about logical operators up here. So we have our logical operators, not operators. Alright, so we have our 2 ampersands there, which means and. So basically if you have a statement 1, and statement 2 are true. That's basically what that means. So then you have our or, which are the 2 pipes. I think they call them pipes, which is if you hold shift and hit the backspace key, their backslash key, I apologize, backslash, which is right above the enter, so that's where those come from. And that means or. So if you have if statement 1 or statement 2 is true. And then we have our exclamation point, which means not. So as I showed you kind of what that means in the last episode, so we're not going to really go into that. If statement 1 is not true. There we go. So that's basically how that's used. So if we have we're going to have our separate section for variables today. So if we have our integer variable 1 equal 1, and you come down to your if statement, you can do if, and then your parameters, if variable 1 equal 1, and that's true. So then, there we go. So then it would execute whatever code is held within the if section here. So we can go system.out.print. You can do whatever you want. Print line. I'll print line this time. And we can go, this is the statement, yeah, maybe if I can spell right, statement, there we go, is true. And then you have our else. We have our little, there we go. We have our else, which is, we can go system.out.print line. The statement is false. There we go. And I forgot to end that line with our semicolon. Don't forget that semicolon. So then if I save it and I run it, it'll display the statement is true because, as you see, the variable 1 is 1 for now. But then if I had another if statement that looked very similar, but if I took variable 2 equal 1, I know it's yelling at me because I don't have a variable 2 right now, and then I can go system.out.print line. The statement is true, and then end it. Oop, there we go. And else system.out.print line. The statement is false. And then if I took our integer variable 1 or 2 rather, and I made it equal to 2, you'll see that this if statement would go to the else, so the statement would be false. So then if I ran it, you'd see the first statement is true because variable 1 still has a value for that, and then it'll return the second statement is false because variable 2 does not equal 1. So that's just one way to do it. You can also make this true by putting a not equal. It's the same thing. I'm not going to type out every single use there, but I can display how to use, say, the logical operators. Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that earlier, the logical operators. So logical operators, there we go. So if I had an if statement that read that variable 1 equal 1 or variable 2 equal 1, and then we had our if statement, we can go system.out.print line either variable 1 or variable 2 equals 1. There we go. Then we can end that, and then you can go, you don't even need an else statement. I'm not going to do an else statement for this one. Then you can go if, say we wanted and, if variable, let's see, else, actually we can go ahead and do an else statement for that. We can go system.out.print line neither variable 1 or variable 2 equals 1, but in this case it will return that they are. So then if we have another if statement, we can go if variable 1 equal 1 and variable 2 equal 1, it could return both variable 1 and variable 2 equals 1, but in this case it would be false. So the, what am I doing? I have, oh my goodness. Else, in this case it would be false, so the else would be system.out.print line either variable 1 or variable 2 does not equal 1, and then end it. So there, if I ran that, errors exist. What error? Over here, I forgot to end that with my, there we go. So then as you can see, first statement is true, which is up here, saying that variable 1 equals 1. The second statement is false, which is right here, saying that variable 2 equals 1, because as you can see, it equals 2 up here. The third statement down here returns that either variable 1 or variable 2 equals 1, seeing as how variable 1 equals 1, but variable 2 does not, this OR means that it still is going to execute that code. And then you have the third one is saying either variable 1 or variable 2 does not equal 1. So as you can see, variable 1 does equal 1, but variable 2 does not. But the statement says that you must have both equal 1. So the else does initiate. So then, one thing with these operators is there is, oh my goodness, there we go, order of operations does exist. So you need to be careful with that. That's basically for adding or multiplying or stuff, but then the logical operators, it does kind of apply as well, because if you had if statement saying that, and then you put your extra parentheses there saying that either variable, let's just say 1 equal 1 or variable 2 equal 1, that would be true, but then you can come outside of the parentheses and add another OR saying that variable 1 equal 1 and variable 2 equal 1, and then you can do your normal evaluation there, and it'll execute. By the way, it does not only have to be system.out.print for use in here. I just am doing that because it's easier to show you that it is working the way I'm saying it's working if I do it this way. And then statement evaluated. So this one would be a little bit long to type out, so you can say that either the statement in front is true or the statement behind it is true. So as you'll notice, variable 1 is correct, but this is not. So this total statement with the parentheses, that is going to evaluate for true. So then you also have an OR, and then that. So this would evaluate for false. So this total in the second set of parentheses within the parameter there section would evaluate for false. But this is saying OR, so either this first parenthesis or the second parenthesis has to be true. So the first parenthesis is true, so it's going to send out this statement here. So that was kind of a little confusing, but hopefully you'll see that it is true if you actually look at the code on my website. Hopefully I make more sense. But so that's that. So then there is another thing you can do. It's what's called nested if statements. So you can have an if statement if variable 1 equal 1, and then you can have your else. So then you have your if, and then you can put another if within that if, and it would look something like this. And we can go variable equal 1, and then you can have another else within that if. So there it goes. And if your variable 1 equals 1, so you can go system.out.print line both variable 1 and, okay, so let's go variable 1 and variable 2 equal 1, else you can go system.out.print line only variable 1 equals 1. Something like that. I keep forgetting to put these darn semicolons at the end. So, but then you have your else. You can go this else down here is going with this if here, and you can tell by where the brackets are. So as you can see, those brackets pair up. So these brackets also pair up here. So this else, you can go system.out.print print line. And you can say variable 1 does not equal 1. Something like that. There you go. So, and if I ran that, you'd see down here, only variable 1 equals 1. And then we talked about that statement. So as you'll see here, only variable 1 equal 1, which is true. All right, so there's something else called an else if statement kind of thing. So let's scroll down. Man, if statements are very complex, aren't they? But so what we have here is you can go an if statement, and you can go whatever you'd like there. And then instead of just putting an else here, you can go else if and put more parameters and then close it off. And you can have as many of those as you like. And then you can still have the else for if none of those actually end up evaluating. So if we can go, let's make this false. So if variable 1 equal 2, system equal to, my bad, equals, there we go. System.out.print line, and it would be var1 equal 2. Else if var1 equal 3, system.out.print line, var1 equals 3. Then you can come down to your last else if, and I'll just show you that it's working by putting a true statement. So I can go variable 1 equal 1, which it does. You can go system.out.print line. My goodness. There we go. And it would be var1 equal 1. And then your else statement, system.out.print line. var1 is unknown, which it's not going to be, which is why I'm just going to write that. So then we can run it, and as you'll see down here, var1 equal 1, and that goes with this statement here, else if statement. So there it is. So then we've got this other thing I kind of want to talk about, which is called an enum, which is basically, we're going to look at enums now. So an enum basically is, I guess, what you can refer to as a Boolean with more than just true and false, kind of. So with enums, the thing with enums, though, is you need an entirely new file to run it. So if we come back up to our project tree up here, you'll see the if statements is my current project, and then the source. So we can go source, new, right-click new, class, and then you have to name the class, and you can name the enum whatever you want. So we're going to just call it test enum and finish. And as you'll see, it gives me a public class test enum, but in this case, I don't want that. So this is our, you don't know what you're talking about. There we go. So we have our enum to look at there, and it's basically an enum is a Boolean with more than 2 values, which basically means it has more than true and false values. All right, so let's look at this. So what you come down here, and you know how usually we do a class initialization? So in this case, we're going to initialize the enum using, we put public class usually, but in this case, we're going to go enum instead of class. So enum, and you have to name it. So in this case, I named it test enum. And again, you're going to have your curly braces. So in this case, we're going to have just certain values in here. So we can go have, we can have our enum value 1, so val1, and you can comma, you can go val2, comma, val3, comma val4. You can have just as many as you want. So there, we can end it there if we'd like. So there you go. So now what you have to do is you have to come over here. You have to go and you have to initialize the enum object. Basically that's what's happening. And you can go test enum, and you have to give it a name. So in this case, we'll just go. I'm running out of names. It'd be enum1. There you go. And now we have our enum. So the way you can look at this as our Boolean true and false thing is you can go, you assign values to the enums as basically using methods. And what you can do is if, say, value 1, if, var1 equal 1, I'm sorry, messed it up again. You can go enum1 dot val1 and close that off. So basically that's giving me an error. So here we go. So enum1 equals, so we're assigning the value enum1 equals test enum dot val1. There we go. That's better. So that's actually how you use it. So that's basically saying that when we initialized our enum up here, so we're taking this enum is storing a value for value 1. So basically that would be like kind of like true, only it's storing value 1 instead of true. So then you can come down later and you can check if enum1 equal test enum dot val 1, and then you can you can execute code based on that. Print line. Oh my goodness. Wow, I'm having so much trouble right now. Our enum is evaluating at the first value. So there it is. And it's giving me an error. Alright, so basically this is giving me an error because this doesn't have a value at the moment. And it's saying that because this is within a if statement, this code may not ever run, which is a valid argument. So basically, if this code never runs, this value will never have a value in this program. So it's giving me an error, which is a good thing to do. So basically what you can do is you can initiate it to, say, test enum.val4, because I can. Or you can initiate it to null, which basically means it does not have a value. So if you don't want it to have a value, you can initiate it to not nuck, null. There we go. And now it's giving me the A-OK, and we can run it. And as you can see, it's initiating at or evaluating at the first value here. So that's going to be pretty much it for this episode. Hopefully it went okay. I know I messed up a couple times on the enum, and I apologize for it. I don't use them that often, so there they are. And I will again have all this code for you to look at on my website, ButteredGaming.com/source. So go ahead and look at that. And thank you very much for watching. And hopefully you'll come again next time.
Hope you liked the video. If you did, you can click on the previous general upload video there to see an episode from the Minecraft Dual Players videos. Or you can click on the previous playlist upload to see the previous video in this series.